What is this?
Salinger. The method and manner is entirely up to you. Your principal would simply like him to vanish without a trace.
Any other provisions?
Yes. No mistakes.
I'll follow.
Where's Iggy going?
Following a new lead.
NYPD, lock your hands behind your head. Do it now.
They'll never let you bring me in.
Do it, or I'll take you down.
Cuffs.
On the belt.
Great events have always unfolded beyond our individual will. But is this true for everyone? Is it reasonable that ordinary people become entangled in major historical events without ever playing a decisive role? History always seems to revolve around names. Adolf Hitler, who ignited the flames of World War. Winston Churchill, who stood as a barrier against Europe's collapse. Saddam Hussein, who set the Middle East ablaze. But can a single individual truly plunge the world into chaos or bring peace? Can the words of one person become reality without the backing of political, economic, and social power? Is all this coordination really driven by the will of one individual alone? Ancient Rome was built upon an institution formed by the wealthy and powerful. A body that convened in secrecy and made decisions behind closed doors. The Senate never held public sessions at any point in history. Yet during the Republic, when major decisions such as declaring wars were made, public uncertainty and endless questions brought the Senate's name into the spotlight as the true decision-making authority. In the modern era, under the glare of media, governments, and international institutions that claim to be rooted in the will of the people, do similar structures still exist? When we look back, a recurring pattern emerges. Before every war, every economic crisis, every major global agreement, there are traces of hidden gatherings. Meetings attended by the most powerful people on Earth. Heads of global banks, CEOs of industrial giants, seasoned politicians, editors-in-chief of major media outlets, and sometimes even royal families. Not in official assemblies, not in institutions elected by the people, but in closed halls, far from curious eyes. What truly happens in these shadows? Conspiracy theory or hidden reality?
Gentlemen, I will remind you.
Whenever such gatherings are mentioned, they are often met with a mocking smile.
You have been chosen to become members of America's most secret society.
Ridicule aimed at minds searching for simple explanations in a complex world.
Skull and Bones members have included a president, vice presidents.
But let us pause for a moment. Why are these meetings kept so far from the light of truth?
Science and industry, the very best of America.
If the goal is dialogue, why are cameras strictly forbidden? Why does security sometimes surpass that of official government summits? Isn't this secrecy itself a sign that something must remain hidden? And isn't the most effective way to stay hidden to cast doubt on the credibility of any information that emerges?
8 groups control the American economy, not only because of their concentration of wealth, but through their strategic ownership of basic industries.
After World War II, Europe lay in chaos and ruin. Cities reduced to ashes. Economies shattered. And in the background, the heavy shadow of communism advancing deep into the continent. In such an atmosphere, a new idea took shape: the need for direct dialogue between the United States and Europe, not at the United Nations, not within NATO. In 1954, at an old hotel in the forests of the Netherlands called Bilderberg, the first meeting was held. It was chaired by Prince Bernhard of Lippe-Biesterfeld of the Dutch royal family. Joseph Rettinger, a Jewish resistance figure and Polish diplomat, played a key role. They were joined by politicians such as Paul van Zeeland, former Belgian Prime Minister and bank director, industrial executives from companies like Unilever, and powerful bankers, including David Rockefeller. Figures from politics, finance, media, and academia, all gathered in silence behind closed doors. The stated goal was to foster mutual understanding between Europe and the United States within the NATO framework. The 3-day meeting ended, but the name Bilderberg entered history from that moment on. An organization with a clear identity, no oversight, and seemingly no official power. Over time, public concern grew over these meetings and the stature of their participants. In later years, through the efforts of journalists and activists, details about attendees and discussions were exposed. Yet the organizers and participants consistently refused to offer explanations. Let us assume these gatherings are harmless. Then why do individuals with such immense influence operate in such darkness for a simple exchange of views? If world-changing decisions are truly made in international organizations, elected parliaments, or transparent institutions, what void do these secret meetings fill? If decisions made in the shadows ignite wars, collapse economies, or shape agreements that alter the lives of billions, then where does the will of the people stand? Is the world governed by a small group? Are votes, protests, and even hopes for change merely part of a predetermined performance?
Why the IBBC, a bank, would be purchasing hundreds of millions of dollars worth of missile guidance and control systems from your company.
The IBBC has purchased billions of dollars worth of Silkworm missiles from the People's Republic of China, which they have resold to clients in the Middle East, contingent upon the missiles being equipped with Vulcan guidance systems. My company is one of only 2 in the world which produce the Vulcan.
But why is the bank committing so much of its capital and resources to the sale of these missiles?
Small arms are the only weapons used in 99% of the world's conflicts. And no one has the capacity to manufacture them faster and cheaper than China.
Yeah, but billions of dollars invested simply to be a broker. There can't be that much profit for them.
No, this is not about making profit from weapon sales. It's about control.
Control the flow of weapons, control the conflict.
No, the IBBC is a bank. Their objective isn't to control the conflict. It's to control the debt that the conflict produces. You see, the real value of a conflict, the true value, is in the debt that it creates. You control the debt, you control everything. Find me after the speech. We can talk in the car on my way to the airport.
Produzione e distribuzione delle opere del nostro ingegno. Una grande e antichissima tradizione e quindi non lasciamo stagnare le acque, i pozzi, le mose, ma convogliamo con tutta la nostra forza, con la nostra passione verso i campi delle regale, i campi del nostro futuro. E allora immediately connected to any
Iran has been a recurring topic throughout more than half a century of Bilderberg meetings, especially in recent years, where it has become a constant subject. The events that followed these meetings for our country are both strange and shocking. From the Tabbas operation, to waves of sanctions, to agreements that trampled parts of Iran's rights. In 2015, the Bilderberg Meeting was held in Austria, in the very same country and at the same time as the signing of the JCPOA agreement between Iran and the P5+1. The night the deal was signed marked the final day of the Bilderberg Meeting. It seems the identity of the individual present in the final moments of the so-called JCPOA negotiations can be inferred. Someone mentioned only by an unclear name. Perhaps the profile of Francesco should be sought in the secret guest list of the 2015 Bilderberg Meeting, a name that ultimately led nowhere, to a place with no address.
در روز آخر مذاکرات برجام کارشناس نه آمریکا، اصلا اینم ربطی به آمریکا نداره، کارشناس اتحادیه اروپا به یکی از همکاران بسیار خوب من گفته بود که اگر ما در متن بنویسیم لغو روز اجرایی شدن مجبور میشیم در اتحادیه اروپا تحریم‌های غیر هسته‌ای رو دوباره تصویب کنیم و این قیافه خوبی نداره. در روز آخر که ما هممون گرفتار 1000 تا کار بودیم، متن‌های مختلف بعد مینوشته میشد، این پیشنهاد رو کارشناس مالی اتحادیه اروپا آقای بود به اسم فرانچسکو، اگه اشتباه نکنم اسم کوچیکش، فامیلیش هم ایتالیایی بود، یادم نیست، از این فامیلی‌های عجیب غریب، به یه همکار خوب من گفته بود که عرض کردم بسیار بسیار مدیر دیپلماتی برجسته‌ای و ایشون هم اجتهاد کرده بود و گفته بود اشکال نداره. نه به من خبر داده بود نه به آقای دکتر عراقچی. این روز آخر این اتفاق افتاد، فرصت نکردن به من بگن.
The broad conflict between Iran and Israel has been unfolding across West Asia for years. The shocking events of October 7, 2023, marked a new turning point in this struggle. Developments over the past 2 years shattered Israel's carefully constructed image in Western public opinion. In response, Israel sought to recover its lost credibility by delivering heavy blows to key elements of the operational structure of the Global Resistance Front. A chain of events that ultimately led to the 12-day war.
The intense fighting ever seen between Iran and Israel, and strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities by the United States. A ceasefire appears to be in place for now. But how did this war erupt between the arch-enemies, and what might come next?
A major confrontation the Zionist regime itself called the War of Resurrection. And yet, like many complex events around us, this war was quickly and conveniently attributed to a single name, Benjamin Netanyahu. On June 12, 2025, participants of the Bilderberg Group discussed issues related to the Middle East and the so-called anti-imperialist axis. Decisions that just 1 day later were followed by Israel's order to attack Iran. The major confrontation, known as the War of Resurrection, began on June 13th, while the Bilderberg meetings were still underway. A familiar pattern for Israel's adversaries. Years earlier, following another Bilderberg meeting, Israel launched the 33-day war against Lebanon. In his famous book, Superclass, The Global Power Elite and the World They Are Making, David Rothkopf writes, "The global superclass has shaped globalization to its own advantage. But the question remains, can it make the world better for all of us? Real power no longer lies in capitals or parliaments, but in conference rooms and private meetings where global elites gather. Our world is governed not by states, but by networks of powerful individuals who often operate in the shadows.
All of us here today are united, sadly, in losing our sons and friends in this terrible war. What happened to this generation of young men must never happen again. I believe the terms of Versailles are too onerous, too extreme, and could precipitate another war. What the world needs is an organization that can channel its resources towards preserving peace and protecting life. An independent intelligence agency operating at the highest level of discretion, above the politics and bureaucracy of government-run spy organizations. To that end, I have acquired this shop, and I propose that we become the founding members of the Kingsman Agency.
We may never obtain definitive proof of what happens inside these rooms. We may never know whether these meetings naively sketch the maps of war and peace, or whether the reality is far more complex. But these coincidences, this secrecy, and the constant presence of power in the shadows make it impossible to simply dismiss everything as random. Where is the world heading? Are our decisions influenced by forces beyond us? Can individuals truly act independently? Or are the currents of history shaped in secret gatherings? This reflection is not about fantasy or fiction. It is about the nature of power itself. Do we have the right to shape the world we live in? Or has that right quietly been taken away? These meetings have a name that began in 1954 in an old hotel in the Netherlands, Bilderberg.